everybody, and welcome to another Top 5 Records video. I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite artists, Freddie Mercury. And I'm not going to be talking about his best songs within the band Queen. Now we're going to be talking about the songs he found necessary to make outside of Queen. And that is an interesting move in the case of Freddie Mercury. Because what were his purposes? And what are some of his finest tunes? Well, I've got a top 5 list for that. And I'm gonna kick the list off with this one. Love Me Like There's No Tomorrow. And especially this 45 RPM extended version of it. Now, why did I choose this song to kick off the list with? Because it's not a very well-known song. It is a very interesting ballad. Later on in his career, I think that Freddie Mercury started to struggle with making good ballads. His focus was shifting. But this song, although the title is a bit tongue-in-cheek, it's sincere. It starts off with this beautiful atmospheric beginning. There is a different sensitivity to this one than to other songs from that 1985 era, the Mr. Bad Guy era. And I'm going to dive into the Mr. Bad Guy era straight after this. But this is a very interesting beauty, and it takes its time. Mercury takes his time on this one, and that is quite extraordinary in this era of pop Freddie Mercury, because a lot of people say that he went commercially. I don't think it was commercially. I think, and I'm talking straight through this to introduce the number 4 spot, because the number 4 of this list is on this album, the Mr. Bad Guy album. And a lot of people, what I was saying, think that he went commercial with the Mr. Bad Guy album. It's different. I think Freddie Mercury was the kind of artist who made the kind of songs you like to listen to. And in the 70s, this guy was all into opera, classic music, cabaret. He liked the musical Cabaret by Bob Fosse a lot. So you hear there are those kind of elements in the songs he's writing. He's exploring pop and rock music through his, well, let's say, not so poppy tastes. Now, through the 70s, he kind of became acquainted to the gay scene, and the gay scene in the 80s had this very strong element of pop music to it, with tough beats. And so, I mean, he started listening to different kind of music. You know, when in the late 70s he started to become interested in Aretha Franklin, he decided to make a kind of soul funk album with Queen. So he just tried to make the kind of songs he was listening to. In mid-80s, and this time he was living in Munich, and Munich had a very extravagant gay scene. As a matter of fact, he had a relationship during these days with Barbara Valentine. That was the ex-lover of Rainer Werner Fassbinder, also a Munich filmmaker who made a lot of important gay cinema. The gay scene out there in those days in Munich was way out there. Freddie Mercury was completely into it, and he wanted to make the kind of songs he was dancing to. And this album, and this was one of the most expensive albums in those days, was the result of it. Now, is this a really great danceable album? Not really. Especially not when you put it out of context of the gay dancing. If you put it into the context of tongue-in-cheek gay songs, in clubs, you know, great album. Fun, loving, great album. Outside of that, it's not a real masterpiece, but it does contain some very interesting songs. And number 4, I've been building up to this, is this song, Made in Heaven. A gorgeous, powerful, almost operatic song, which makes you think, why wasn't this a Queen song? Now, later on, after his death, Queen turned it into a Queen song because Made in Heaven was a powerful, epic Queen song. And it's on the number 4 spot. Also, by the way, there is an interesting song on here. There Must Be More to Life Than This, which you might know because he initially worked on it and recorded it with Michael Jackson for the Thriller album. But Michael Jackson and Freddie Mercury, they had a falling out, I guess. So it's not on Thriller. He told that in interviews, like, it could have been a Thriller. Didn't want to bother. Now, on the number 3 spot, those are actually sweet. It's sweet. It's on this album. My number 3. It's on this album. It says it's 3 songs on here, but actually these songs are sweet, so I'm gonna put them together. From the B-side of Barcelona, there are these songs: The Golden Boy, Guide Me Home, and How Can I Go On. Now, they just dissolve into each other, and it is operatic. Anybody know the story of this album, Barcelona? Mercury was a fan of opera, and he decided to work together with Montserrat Caballé for the song Barcelona. Caballé loved his work so much, so she asked him, how many songs are on a rock and roll record? And Mercury said, about 8 or 10. Well, go and write a rock and roll record, and we recorded. It did not become a rock and roll record, quite the opposite. Mercury did something very interesting in 1988, which was use pop elements and opera, but not in a very easy way. He was not going into the world of Andrew Lloyd Webber. His sheer brilliant sense of melody writing, and to a certain extent also a complex element in there, which was not custom in Mercury's solo work, all came out in what he was doing on Barcelona. This album is one of the masterpieces of the 80s, and the second side, The Golden Boy, the way it builds up, this great big choir comes up, this gospel choir, it just goes into Guide Me Home, and how this draws into How Can I Go On. I mean, it's just bizarre. It's completely bizarre. Mercury was crossing boundaries with genres, with melodies, at the most bizarre moment in time. And those 3 songs, they are the number 3 spot, because they go together, like Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, and The End from the Beatles, you know. Number 2 spot. Now, on number 2, no opera. Let's also give the right value to just a very nice, neat, lovely, sweet pop song. I Was Born to Love You. Why this song? It's sweet and powerful at the same time. It has beautiful melody. It has a very powerful Freddie Mercury vocal. The way it just starts off with, he gives all the air of his lungs into the first sentence. I was born to love you. Just a little piano. Ting, ting, ting. Every single day of my life. It's perhaps a bit over the top, but Freddie Mercury, can he really ever go over the top? Nah, because it's sincere, it's beautiful, it's melodic, it has a nice beat to it, it has a nice rhythm to it. You know, what I was saying in regard to the Mr. Bad Guy album, the idea of making pop songs for a gay underground scene, it might sound easy, but there is also quite a challenge in there, and he managed. I mean, the entire album might not be a masterpiece, but this song definitely is. Beautiful, beautiful pop song. Okay, number 1 spot. Going back to the beautiful collaboration with Montserrat Caballé, but written by Mercury himself. Barcelona. This is the most powerful, beautiful anthem. I mean, this was also a hit single. Obviously, this was a hit single. And this is of the same extraordinary writing power with which Bohemian Rhapsody was written. It's also of the same vocal power. The heights he reaches on this point in his career. The heights and the melodic complexities. And at this moment in time, these were not the 70s in which it was cool to experiment with these kind of genres. These were the 80s. This was the period of pop hits, make it short, make it snappy, and Freddie Mercury made opera and pop one of the best songs ever and a radio hit. Man, gotta love Freddie Mercury. Those were my 5 favorite Freddie Mercury songs. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below and see you in the next video.